Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Jerica. Are you doing everything possible to pay for college and avoid student loan debt? Today, our guest asked that very question and decided to write a book to share all the ways that you can pay for college and avoid student loan debt. Rockell Bartoli is a first generation college graduate, prior teacher, and guidance counselor, and now she tours the United States with her inspiring message. Raquel, welcome. So happy to have you in the chair talking with
Mhm.
us today.
Hello, Jerica. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm really excited to connect with your audience and have this conversation.
So, one of the things that you mentioned in your book is, am I doing everything possible to pay for college and avoid student loan debt? And I think
Right.
that is such a powerful question for our students to ask themselves throughout the school year. Where do you think students get most stuck when they're trying to figure out how to pay for college?
I think it can happen in a few places, but what I've seen the most is they're seniors, they're in senior year, and they're trying to
Mhm.
do everything in senior year versus building up to it, starting as early as ninth grade, 10th grade, from college, scholarships, career opportunities, doing community service. And so when you wait until senior year to do everything, it can be very overwhelming. And the last thing you're thinking about is applying for scholarships. Your mindset is kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to do the FAFSA. And once I do the FAFSA, they'll let me know and kind of go from there. And by then it's then you're trying to hurry and see where you can find additional pockets of money.
And well, why do you think that happens? Because I know that happened for me. Like, why do you think people wait till senior year? Like, why isn't the word out earlier?
Well, sometimes the word is out, but it's a matter of taking action, having accountability, a mentor,
Mm,
and support. As
mhm.
a prior school counselor, I remember talking to students in ninth and 10th grade about the FAFSA. Then we do another classroom presentation senior year about the FAFSA, and students are like, "What's the FAFSA?" And I'm like, "Dude, we've been doing this for how many years?" So I think it just depends. Do you have an older sibling that's gone through the process, or a counselor, or
Mm,
a parent who's
mhm,
really there to support you, or are you winging it on your own? And then,
mhm,
you have other factors. You have students that are doing great things. They're athletes, they're working, they're
mhm.
highly involved in their community. And therefore, it's like, how do I prioritize my time with all the things that I'm trying to do? And then again, senior year, SAT, ACT, college visits,
Mhm.
completing your classes. So if you don't really have accountability and support, then a lot of things can go to the bottom of the to-do list.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, and I think that's a really good charge for our first and second gen students that are maybe further down in the process to turn around and find someone that's younger that maybe hasn't, like, had that aha moment. Maybe they're not taking it from their guidance counselor, right? But they might take that same information coming from you because you can
Right.
connect your stories. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your favorite piece of college advice?
Yeah, so I started off at a community college, Miami-Dade Community College, before transitioning to the university to earn my bachelor's in elementary education. And then
Hmm,
I went to Nova University to do my master's in school guidance counseling. One piece of advice when it comes to the college process is just doing your best to find the college that's a good fit for you, and kind
hmm.
of not getting caught up in logos and all the things you might see on social media, but truly connecting with the college and finding the one that's the best fit for you.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because I find that a lot of people do get caught up in the prestige of a university. Did you feel like you that happened for you?
No, for me, starting at the community college was most affordable. So even as a senior, I knew that that was the best way for me personally to start off. And
Mhm,
based on what I heard, starting at the community college would be less money. It would have been a easier transition. I wasn't like,
mhm,
one of these straight A scholars. So I
uh-huh,
needed an environment and a community that would allow me to just grow, and that was it for me. But what I have seen is, it's great to apply to 50 100,000 colleges, and I know that students love having all of the mascots and logos and their
mhm,
picture, and I applied to 100 billion colleges and I got
yep.
accepted. But at the end of the day, you really want to find the school that's the best fit for you and has all the things that you need.
I wanna take a moment right now to
Right.
show everybody your amazing book. It's
Thank
so
you.
wonderful, it's so pretty. I love the colors, I just love the joy that is on the book itself.
Thank
I've
you.
loved reading your book. And one thing I liked about it is how you not only like weaved your story, but other stories throughout. And each page, it was like, okay, wait, you're sharing this. And then the next page is like, oh, wait, more information,
Right.
which I really loved. So in the book, The Scholar Budget Guide to Paying for College, there's an acronym that I think
Mhm.
our first and second gen students will find very helpful. So, what does A.B.A.F.S mean? And what is your advice for making that a natural part of the college process?
Right. So that's just basically always be applying for scholarships. As many times as you can, create a plan of action. I
Mhm.
always tell students that, you'll know when you can stop applying when that diploma is in your hand. You've walked across the stage and your mama and your daddy are in the crowd saying,
Mhm.
take a picture. That's the day you can end. But in between, right now, even if you're in ninth grade, there's opportunities as early as middle school. Sometimes they're called
Hmm.
scholarships or contests. But you want to constantly be applying. So even if you create a goal for yourself, maybe it's one or two scholarships a month,
Mhm.
then get it done. If you're a student and you factor in Thanksgiving break and Christmas break, those are
Mhm.
opportunities where it's not as much going on, but it's being intentional about getting those scholarships done. So submit, 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 apply, apply, apply until you walk across the stage and receive your diploma. Then you can call it quits and job well done.
Yes, yes. That I think that piece of advice you don't hear very often. It's just like, okay, it's a moment. Maybe you apply for your scholarships in high school and then in college you just stop. But you're saying
Right.
continue to do that. And how do you keep the momentum going? Are there any tools that you use or like practical ways to keep yourself kind of like in the game? Like I got to keep applying for scholarships because it's very daunting.
Yeah, applying for scholarships is not sexy, and
Yeah.
it's not fun, right? So
Hmm.
finding that source of inspiration, whether you're connected to, amazing podcasts like yours or other individuals that are sharing information on scholarship opportunities, connecting with the, financial assistance department in your college, or just putting that time on your schedule once a month. Okay, this is my scholarship time, and just remembering what your why is. Like if your goal is ultimately to graduate from college with as little to no student loan debt, then you know that this is just a part of the plan. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, but we know the free money is out there. You just got to put in the time. So I think it's a few things. Create an accountability group. Maybe you have a friend or two where you're both on this journey and you're doing this together. Yeah, but you got to find that source of inspiration.
Yeah, I like that buddy one. Like,
Hmm.
okay, we're both in this. Have you applied for the scholarship yet? Have you applied for it yet? Keeping
Right.
yourself accountable and then your why. Have you seen students like do unique things with their why for applying for scholarships?
Yeah, well, I encourage students, if they have a vision board or any kind of board, especially in their room, to
Mhm.
include something that says debt free or,
Mm.
something along the lines of money, just to
Mhm.
remind themselves that, they have this big, great dream and it costs money, but am I doing everything possible to get free money versus borrowing money and having to pay that back with interest?
Yeah, that's really good. In your book, you had this fabulous exercise about limiting thoughts. What
Right.
are some of the common limiting thinking that you found students tell themselves around
Mhm.
scholarships? What do you say to help them like switch that thinking?
A lot of students might think that I have to be perfect. I have to be a straight A student. There's way too
Mhm,
much competition. They're never going to choose me. I
mhm.
don't know how to write. My writing's not good.
It's
it
mine.
takes too much time, right? It's only $500. Why should I waste my time? It's a paper application. I have to write so at the end of the day, do you want this money or not? And it's really just taking some time, which I know is hard for students to just envision your future self, Everything you're
Mm,
doing right now is to create a future in which you can graduate positive versus
mhm,
negative. And I know we can't all totally avoid student loan debt, but there is a big difference. You can graduate with $5,000 or even $10,000 in student loan debt, or it could be
mhm,
20, 30, 40, 50,000.
mhm, mhm,
And sometimes it's just because we weren't doing everything possible. We weren't using all of our resources and doing all the things in order to get as close to that, positive number as possible.
There's so many things we tell ourselves. As you were saying before, it always happens right in your senior year. So you're like, okay, I gotta apply for school. I got ACT, I got SAT, I got this, I got that, and
Mhm.
write the scholarship, and I'm not a good writer. How do I just won't do it. And I'll just
Right.
focus on like, yeah.
Yeah, and getting help when you need the help. So even if you feel like you're not a
Mm,
great writer, that's okay. Those are totally honest feelings. But now
mhm,
you have to tap into your resources, whether that's your school counselor, your English teacher,
mhm,
if you're a senior and you have a great relationship still with your ninth grade or 10th grade English teacher, even if you're,
mhm,
your English teacher as a senior, then reach out to those people that you have to help you with writing. If you feel like,
mhm,
oh, I'm not good enough or I'm not smart enough, well, go take a look at some of the
mhm,
scholarships, look at their requirements. And sometimes what you're thinking is not true. You think you have to be a 4.0 when the scholarship is just asking for you to at least have a 3.0, and you're right there.
mhm,
So, yeah, like you said,
mhm.
taking those limiting beliefs, you throw them in the trash and,
Yes.
use what you got and keep it moving.
Yeah, and my question too, some of the students that we talk to often, teachers are not that involved. Like they're there, but they're not like involved as in like they can reach out to them for help with writing and things like that.
Right.
What do you tell those students? I've worked with some students. I'm like, okay, go talk to your guidance counselor. My guidance counselor doesn't want to talk to me. Like that is
Right.
reality for some of these students.
I've been a counselor as well.
Mhm,
So advocacy is important. So if a student feels like they're not receiving the right support, then
mhm,
if you voiced your concerns, then take it the next step up. So if you have to speak to an
mm,
administrator or bring your
mhm,
parent in because you feel like you need some additional support, then by all means do that, because sometimes it's the season. The counselor might be
yep,
super busy. Again, I've been there,
mhm,
so I understand that. And it's like, okay, I'm going to get to you. I just can't
mhm,
get to you right now. And a student might
mhm.
see that as, oh, well, my counselor doesn't want to help me.
Yeah.
So again, you can always bring a parent in, talk to an administrator, stop by and see a person in person versus emailing, and kill them with kindness, write a card and say, "Hey, I know you're super busy. Here's a pack of Oreo cookies." A person will be like, "Oh, you know what? You're really trying to get my attention. Although I have these things that are super urgent, let me stop for a second and at least touch base with you." So, you got to pull out the different tools and tricks you have to sometimes get a person's attention. And it's not because I'm hoping in most cases that they don't
Mhm.
wanna serve you, it's just the season, and you just gotta wait.
Yeah, I like that one, Raquel, when you talked about, like, killing them with kindness, because I hadn't even, thought about that, but yeah, like, we're all humans, so if you're getting an interaction from someone who is, like, giving you things, I'm not saying you have to give
Right.
give things, but, like, who's writing a card is you can go to the dollar store and get a pack of of cards. Ah,
Even for
I
letters
love
of
that.
recommendations, I share with students because I know sometimes that's a hassle and you gotta
Mhm.
follow up, and I said, "Listen, just get some Hershey Kisses or Reese's Pieces, put a little
Yes.
card, put it in their door or wherever the case is, and they will
Mhm.
acknowledge you and they will remember you on top of the 1,001 things that they need to do." So
Yes, yes, and we're only getting this advice because 'cause you've been in that space, so you
Mm.
know.
Exactly, I do now. I'll see the can, I'm like, "Oh my god. Okay, let me pause what I'm doing and at least let this kid know I see you, I hear you,
Yes,
just I gotta get
yes,
through these schedules because my principal is on me, but Imma take
yes.
care of you."
And now I actually wanna spend some time, talking about 3 unique ways that students could pay for college outside of scholarships. So your book, guys, her book has many more, of course, and so I want you guys to go out there and get this book, but we're gonna talk about 3 today. The first one that I saw in the book that I thought was really interesting was something called dual enrollment. And so for our listeners, I don't know if you can, like, introduce us to the world of, like, dual enrollment. What is it, and how does it
Right.
pay for college?
I think the word dual enrollment has a different term, I'm finding out, in different states, but it's when you're enrolled in high school and college at the same time, and you're taking college classes to receive college credit. And here in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, it is free. So students can take these classes for free. The goal is to take the class, pass the class, and start earning credit. So, what happens is if you're already taking college classes while you're in high school and you're not paying for them or paying a small fee, it's saving you money and time. And so, here, especially in Miami Dade County, we have found that a lot of our students are taking advantage of this and graduating with their high school diploma and their AA degree at the same time. So that's knocking out 2 years of college, plus they didn't have to pay for it. And that's reducing their need for student loan debt for sure.
I didn't realize it was free. So
Yes, not in all states, so you gotta check with your counselor, but I in the states that I visited, it has either been free or less expensive than taking it on campus as a college student, so you're still saving.
when I was researching for our time together, I saw a statistic and it said like the National Student House Clearinghouse Research Center. What a name. That's like a really long
Mhm.
name. Saying 88% of high schools offer dual enrollment, but only 34% of students are taking it. So why do you think that is like it's being offered, but it's not taken?
Yeah, well, I think it's several factors.
Mhm.
Transportation is one, especially if you have to be
Hmm.
on campus to take the class. So
Hmm.
availability, I know that here in Miami-Dade County, we've made a great effort of offering these classes in the high school itself. So these teachers are
Oh,
certified, they've gone through the process in
wow.
order to teach the class. Therefore, you might have an English teacher who's teaching a
Mhm.
few blocks of English, and then they're doing 2 blocks of college life skills essentials, whatever the acronym or code might
Yeah.
be, and
Mhm.
therefore the high school students can take advantage of the courses while they're on campus. So I say
Man.
transportation, if all the classes
Mhm.
are offered at the college,
Mhm.
lack of having the availability on your campus. Managing your time is another thing because for
Hmm.
some students, again, they can have it in their schedule if they're here at
Mhm.
MDCPS. And if
Mhm.
it's outside of their schedule, that means now after school, I have to go take these classes. And now, if I'm a student who has a job, sports, or just not motivated or not don't have the transportation, then that becomes a problem. And I think some students fear taking a college class. Like, I don't think I'm ready, or I don't want to fail. And sometimes, there's at least here, there's a test that you have to take in order to qualify to take these classes. And if you don't pass the test, you can't take the class. So sometimes that test itself hinders students from, moving forward. So I think it's multiple factors that play a role.
The test, is that something that's offered every year? Like, I know we're being really granular, guys, to like this county, but like, is that something that's offered every year? And do you see the test as a prereq in a lot of other places you've seen to get into dual enrollment, or is it just some people just let
Yes.
you straight in? Okay.
So it's called the CPT. It's a college placement test. It's the test you take originally just to even get into like the college setting, and it's not even to get in. It's to identify your
Oh,
level of reading and level of math to then understand at
okay.
what level you should be placed in these classes. So if you take
Ah.
the reading and the math and there's a certain
Mhm.
formula, a certain score, it
Mhm.
determines whether you're college ready for math and for English. And then
Mm.
with those scores, then it opens up more doors. So if you don't pass your math, you don't pass your reading, now you're not able to take the classes. And I'm pretty sure in other states it might be a little different, but there is an
Mhm.
initial test that has to be taken in order for you to move forward. They just want to make sure that you're ready. They don't want to set you up for failure. So if you
Mhm.
can't pass this, I guess, basic class, then it's a sign that you might have to study more, remediation, and then go back and take the test again. And here in Miami-Dade County, it's offered all the time because it is that test that most students have to come in and take for placement itself.
The other part of the question for dual enrollment, what are some things students need to consider when it comes to dual enrollment? Any pitfalls that students need to consider when it comes to dual enrollment that normally isn't discussed?
Yeah, I think it is discussed, but it's just a good reminder. Time management, because again, these are
Okay.
additional courses you're taking on top
Hmm.
of your regular schedule, unless it's embedded in your schedule.
Hmm.
And knowing that it is a commitment, you're already starting the timer for your college GPA. So if you take a
Oh,
class at the
yeah.
college level and you fail a class at the college level,
Mm.
and then you enter college with that negative GPA, it's just like,
Hmm.
it's not a fun place to be in. So if you
Hmm.
do commit to taking these classes, life happens, but it should be taken with the knowledge that, okay, I'm going to
Hmm.
commit, I'm going to do my
Hmm.
best. I'm going to utilize the resources. So now you have access to the resources on campus because you're a college student, and you have
Mhm,
resources at your high school. So making sure you know what those resources are, and
mhm.
using everything to help yourself, especially if the class is a little challenging or difficult.
Yeah, that's so good. I didn't even think about that yet because you're just thinking, okay, I'm taking a basic, let's say, English class, and I will act the same way I did in high school and college, but maybe I don't get that A. Well, now your GPA is kind of different coming into
Right.
college.
Mhm.
So being ready, knowing, having your mindset right, like, hey, this is no longer high school, this is college. Uh, I
Right.
gotta I got to act right. I just loved our deep dive into dual enrollment as a tactic for our students to pay for college. I want to talk about the second unique way to paying for college without using scholarships, and that's something called the Employer College Tuition Program. And when I read this one in the book, I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is good." So, like, how does the Employer College Tuition Program work? What is it? Just break it down for us, Raquel.
Right. So that's when you work for a company or organization that has the benefit in which they will help you to pay for X amount of classes. And that can
Hmm.
be through reimbursement or they pay up front. So organizations like Amazon, FedEx, UPS, Walmart, Target,
Hmm.
like the list goes on, Publix, Home Depot, they have this employer program. And again, it's a benefit, just like health
Hmm.
insurance, 401k, et cetera. And again, it looks different across the board for different companies, but
Hmm.
typically it's after you're off of probation, whatever that those number of days look like.
Hmm.
In most cases, I've seen that it's for full time students, but again, you have to check not full time students, full time employees.
Okay.
But you would check with your company to verify what that looks like
Hmm.
and understand what their process is. So, do I have to pay for the classes up front? Once I show you that I've passed my classes, then you send me a check
Hmm.
back, or do you give me so much money and then I submit it to you and you send that payment to my college? And so, if you're going to be working anyways, I
Hmm.
think it's best to work for an employer who has this benefit because you're collecting a paycheck, plus they're helping you to pay for classes. And it's just an additional way for you to pay for school and not put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, that was actually gonna be my follow-up question, Raquel, is just asking, like, okay, if a student has to choose between, okay, I'm gonna work at Chipotle or this other organization that doesn't have, this type of employer education program, should that be the determining factor? And so in your mind, you're saying, yes, that should be something that you consider, when picking your college job.
Right, absolutely. I mean, if there's other things that are more important to you,
Mhm,
like for example, like location, maybe the job with the tuition assistance isn't as close, and so that's understandable. But if you
mhm,
have two to choose from and they're both, close to you, they're both going
mhm,
to pay you the same, you know what I mean?
mhm.
And you got to think that it's kind of like a temporary situation while I'm finishing out these 2 years or these 3 years of school.
Mhm.
Here I have a company that will help me pay for my classes. So for this season in my life, I'm going to work
Yes,
and
yes,
I'm
it
going to
is.
get a paycheck and get my employer tuition assistance and
Mhm.
do what I got to do. And then when the season's done, the season is done.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of students on the back end, like, once you graduate and you're looking for that job and you're trying to get a master's, because some of the careers people are looking into, you need a master's. Hey, look at
Right.
that job that's gonna offer that education benefit, because that could
Right.
be a make or break. Like, if you're trying to go get a master's anyway and they're saying, "We'll pay for all A's or all B's," that's different
Go
than going
for it.
to, yeah, an employer that's just like, "No, you're just gonna work and we're gonna give you money." It's like, "Okay, well, I
Right.
need something extra." So the final unique way that I saw that I think really would be beneficial for students to hear about, for those that are trying to pay for college outside of scholarships, is the GI Bill, which I know is
Mhm.
kinda like a touchy subject sometimes for people, but and I also know we could have, like, 5 episodes talking about the GI Bill alone, but what is it, and how does it help students pay for college?
Yeah, so this is a benefit for those who serve our country.
Mhm,
And I always tell students that you should, at least I encourage them not to, enter into the service just because they want to get the
Mhm.
GI Bill or the tuition assistance. Like, it really has to be a heart and mind decision, and maybe a
Yes.
decision you talk with your family about. But
Mhm.
if your heart is already set on it, it's good to know what those benefits are. So, once you're a veteran, the GI Bill is one of the, like, a pocket of money that you can tap into to cover your undergrad, your graduate, different kinds of
Mm.
certifications. And one of the things I like about the GI Bill is if you don't use it, it can be handed down to your significant other that you're married to, or your
Mhm.
children, etc.
Mhm.
So this is just one of those benefits of being in the military. And so you can start with your tuition assistance. And usually people usually get like their bachelor's degree with the tuition assistance, and then they usually tap into the GI Bill for, like, masters, etc. But it's open to anywhere
Mm.
from certifications, tech certifications, vocational school. So it's just that money that's available to you as a benefit for serving our country.
Yeah, I love that. And are there any tips that you have for like students that decide to take this route?
One
Yeah.
thing that I did notice, at least with my nephew who's in the Navy, is that he took advantage of his tuition assistance, like, as early as possible. He was taking his classes. He's almost done with his degree. So really starting sooner than later is kind of the best thing. I know, once you get in and you're just kind of familiarizing yourself with, like, your routine, where you're living, etc. Use all the benefits that you can, especially while you're in there, and don't wait until the end to say, "Oh, I'm gonna go to school now," if you can. Everybody's situation's different, but, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, that is exactly it. Have a plan. Like if you're gonna
Mhm.
go and you're gonna go do this, start early. Don't go in and just spend like a year, 2, 3 years trying to figure out, okay, what am I doing? Am I really doing? Those were years that you could have been using to actually get
Yes.
something that could help you out. So I think that's spot on, Raquel, about the information. Go in with a plan. So uh,
Mhm.
folks, you have it. These are 3 unique ways that, you could pay for college outside of scholarships, and like I said before, this book has way more. This was just the tip of the iceberg, but, um, as we start to land this plane, Raquel, I wanted to do a lightning round, so this is something we haven't done before, but a lightning
Okay.
round of questions. We receive a lot of questions from students, and I think with your background and all of the experience that you have, you'd be a perfect person to ask these questions
Awesome.
to. Okay, let's do it. So the first question I have that we received: do you have any tips on the FAFSA?
Yes. So my tip would be, whenever your school offers any kind of FAFSA night, FAFSA help, have your parent there with you. Go to all the things that your school is going to offer when it comes to the FAFSA. When you can receive support and help, it's going to make it a little bit easier. If you're doing it at home with your parent, when in doubt, they have customer service numbers. Call and ask. It's better to ask and have someone on the phone guiding you. I've found that little mistakes can hold the whole process back. Like, your parent puts one thing, but you put something, you put hyphenated last name, but then your parents don't put the hyphenated last name, and now there's a conflict of interest, and now your application is, like, denied. So being mindful, trying to do it together with your parent if you can, and again, whatever your school is offering when it comes to FAFSA support, make an effort to be there so that you're not doing it by yourself. And, watching any FAFSA YouTube videos, being on FAFSA's social media, sites, so you can have the latest, greatest information.
Question number two:
Mhm.
do scholarships or FAFSA go towards tuition first? Do scholarships or
Mhm.
FAFSA go towards tuition first?
Well, FAFSA will typically take a look at, how much you owe. And then I've seen
Mhm,
in some instances, but it's not really the majority of students. You get too much
mhm.
scholarship money, and FAFSA's like, well, since you got all this money, we're going to reduce that. So
Uh-huh.
it's typically your scholarships and stuff, and then the FAFSA money. And again, if you got too much because you did the most and you got all the money, I mean, it's great,
Mhm.
but you can receive a refund as well, which I've seen some students be able to do that as well.
What is your favorite place to look for scholarships?
Tons of places. Bold.org, being strategic with your Google search, being
Okay.
very mindful of who you are. So if you're a first gen African American female teacher,
Mhm.
then just, utilizing Google and being very specific. There's niche.com. I love the College Board. They have a ton of awesome, amazing scholarships.
Mm,
But most importantly, Backyard Money is great money, which is those scholarships that are within your community. Those are
mm.
typically smaller pockets of money, but they're the easier ones to apply for, and you're most likely to get a yes faster than getting the national one. So looking at that money that's in your backyard.
Next question. A student wrote, I'm not sure what exactly I want to do for a career. How can I prepare myself before and during college to help me find out?
Right. I would say volunteering, networking,
Hmm,
asking questions. If your parent
mm,
knows a person who's in nursing and nursing is what you're thinking about, then, doing a
mhm.
Zoom interview, just asking questions, having really good questions. And of course, volunteering and doing community service when you can in that field to give you some, getting your hands and feet dirty and seeing if this is something you really enjoy or like.
And the next question. 3 books you think every college student should read.
Yes. So definitely the Scholar Budget Guide to Paying for College.
Yes. Woo, woo.
I really like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens.
Hmm.
And if you love the Lord, then the Bible's a good one to read as well, because there's a
Yes.
lot of nuggets in there that will help you on your journey personally.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. I want you to tell our listeners what services you offer students and where students can find out more about your amazing work.
So you can connect with us at the Scholar Budget. Our book is a
Mhm.
resource, and our podcast is a resource to both parents and students. And if your school is interested in bringing our program to your school, then you can definitely have your advisor, CAP advisor, administrator reach out to us and see if our program is a good fit for your school.
Thank you so much, Raquel, for coming on. I have really enjoyed our conversation, and I know our students will find it a helpful resource for them as they go throughout their college funding journey. So I want to thank you so much for coming and enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.